5 famous hospitals, 5 different countries, and 5 stories that ended the same way. Today, we explore why these places were abandoned and what their closures reveal about modern medicine. But before we look at how they closed, we need to understand why they were built. For decades, these hospitals were symbols of hope. Generations were born inside their walls. Families gathered in their waiting rooms. Lives were saved by their doctors. These weren't just buildings. They were community lifelines, places where people trusted their future to strangers in white coats. But trust alone couldn't keep them open. And this is how they fell. Louisville, Kentucky, 1926. Waverly Hills Sanatorium opened during America's deadliest tuberculosis epidemic. 1 in 7 people were dying from what they called the White Plague. This hospital was built to isolate the sick, to give them fresh air, sunlight, and rest. At its peak, 500 patients lay in open-air porches, even in winter, bundled in blankets, breathing cold air the doctors believed could heal them. Families sent letters, patients waited months. Some recovered, many didn't. And this story wasn't unique. Then, in 1949, everything changed. A new drug called streptomycin began curing tuberculosis in weeks, not years. Suddenly, Waverly Hills wasn't needed. For the staff, this was the beginning of the end. By 1961, the last patients were transferred out. The doors were locked, and the building went silent. And this pattern would repeat. Beelitz-Heilstätten, Germany, 1902. Beelitz-Heilstätten was built for Berlin's factory workers, a forest sanatorium where lung disease patients could recover in clean air. Then World War I arrived. The hospital became a military facility. Wounded soldiers filled the wards. A young corporal named Adolf Hitler recovered here from a gas attack in 1916. After the war, it returned to treating tuberculosis. By the 1930s, it held over 3,000 beds. But after Germany's reunification in 1990, the costs became impossible. The Soviet military withdrew in 1995, and Beelitz was left empty. Maintenance bills piled up. Modern healthcare had moved on. Different country, same outcome. Gyeonggi Province, South Korea, early 1980s. Gonjiam Psychiatric Hospital opened during South Korea's rapid industrialization. As cities grew, so did the need for mental health care. But this hospital never had enough staff or enough funding. By the mid-1990s, the sewage system was failing. Conditions were unsanitary. New environmental laws required expensive upgrades. The owner couldn't afford them. In 1996, the hospital closed abruptly. The owner fled the country amid financial disputes. Patients were transferred elsewhere. No documentation was left behind. For years, the building sat empty. Myths began to spread. Ghost stories, urban legends. But the truth was simpler. It was a hospital that ran out of money. Once trust disappears, hospitals don't survive. So far, we've seen 3 hospitals in 3 different countries fail for similar reasons. Danvers, Massachusetts, 1878. Danvers State Hospital was designed to be different. It followed the Kirkbride Plan, a vision of humane mental health care. Wide hallways, natural light, gardens where patients could work and heal. For a while, it worked. Patients farmed. Doctors believed in moral treatment. Discharges were common. But by the 1930s, overcrowding destroyed the vision. 2,000 patients crammed into a building designed for 500. Budget cuts followed. Then lobotomies, electroshock therapy, restraints. In 1992, the state ordered it closed. Deinstitutionalization policies shifted patients to community care. Staff were laid off. The public supported the change. Danvers had become a symbol of everything mental health care needed to leave behind. The building was demolished in 2007. only the tower remains. But one hospital's ending was especially difficult. West Virginia, 1864. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum opened during the chaos of the American Civil War. Built to be a sanctuary, a place of healing, with long, quiet corridors. But that peace didn't last. Designed for just 250 patients, it eventually held over 2,400. Beds lined the open hallways. Food ran short. The staff was completely overwhelmed. For decades, the facility struggled under the weight of severe underfunding, until the state finally intervened. In May of 1994, the massive stone building was quietly shut down. The final patients were loaded onto buses, transferred to a new, modern facility down the road. The nurses packed up their stations. Decades of history were boxed away, lights turned off, doors locked. And that was the end. When you step back, a pattern becomes clear. These 5 hospitals didn't close because of supernatural forces or sudden disasters. They closed because medicine evolved. Tuberculosis was conquered by antibiotics like streptomycin. Mental health care shifted from massive, crowded asylums to targeted community treatment. New environmental laws and shifting policies demanded better, safer conditions. And the cost of maintaining these massive, aging structures simply became too high. Public trust shifted away from isolation. We stopped hiding the sick in remote rural buildings. They didn't fail overnight. They were slowly abandoned. And this is why these buildings still matter. They stand as silent monuments to how far we've come, to the millions of lives saved and the hard lessons learned along the way. They housed our brightest hopes and our darkest medical mistakes. These hospitals remind us that progress always leaves something behind. If you value stories like this, subscribe for more quiet history.